is the TLDW Too Long Didn't Watch. If you're upgrading from a 6, 7, 8 or one of the newer 10 models, this is of course a great upgrade. And I would consider getting this over the 11 Pro because it has 5G, and ultimately 5G is future-proofing your phone. It may not be useful to too many of us right now, but if you're somebody who only upgrades every 3 to 4 years, getting a phone with 5G obviously makes more sense. Now, if you have the XS, 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max, this is a decent upgrade, not spectacular. It's probably not too bad if you're going from the XS. If you're going from any of the 11 Pro models, this is a sideways move in my opinion. And in some ways it's a downgrade. If you think of things like battery life, then you know it's a bit of a downgrade. And if, for example, you were torn between buying a 12 Pro or an 11 Pro Max and you didn't mind the bigger screen, then you're sitting on the horns of a dilemma here, because you know, do you want brand new, shiny, or do you want potentially a better phone than the 11 Pro Max? Bigger screen, better battery life, comparable cameras, still the same amount of lenses. It's something you have to think about. If you're deciding between the 12 Pro and the 12, yeah, that's a tough choice. Well, you know what, it's not a tough choice. Go with the 12, unless you somehow value the shiny sides, the extra lens, and that's it. Camera wise, they're pretty on par. They're on par, and you might prefer some of the images that the 12 takes over the 12 Pro in some cases. The 12 has better battery life too, which I think Apple really dropped the ball on that, because you know, you can't have worse battery life in the Pro model. Seems very strange. Now, if you're deciding between the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max, this is where it gets interesting, because 12 Pro Max is potentially the phone that will be more pro this year. So if you can handle the bigger phone, paying an extra $100 for the 12 Pro Max might be worth it. Now, of course, if you can't handle the bigger phone, then you know, you can't really do anything about that. You just have to go with the 12 Pro or the 12, which is probably the better choice for most people. Of course, if you upgrade every year like me, well, almost every year, then you're just here to get some information and some validation. So for you guys and everybody else, welcome to the review.
Michael Q on the track.
So let's talk about the design. For me personally, I like this phone a lot. I like the design of the phone. This is the space gray model. It's got the shiny sides, which are fingerprint magnet for sure. But you know, in terms of how it feels in the hand, I like it a lot. To me, it helps make the phone easier to hold. I think you have to kind of hold it to see. But for me, it makes the phone easier to hold. Material wise, the stainless steel does make the phone feel heavier than the 12, which I don't know, I don't mind a phone that's a little bit on the hefty side. You know, it just kind of feels solid. You can never really, I think that phones that are heavier are harder to lose, because you always don't kind of feel like, have I got it or not? As well, there is this very strange logo, CE logo on the side. It's a little bit unsightly, but to be honest, you won't really notice it day to day. But it is worth mentioning. And let's talk about cameras now. So cameras is where this is difficult to really separate things from each other, because if you compare this to the 11 Pros, there is a difference. I would say it's a decent difference. I don't know if the everyday person will just think, wow, this is just next level. Obviously with YouTube and reviews and that kind of thing, you're kind of getting people who test things for a living, and maybe who are like camera people, and you know, every little detail they can kind of, you know, snuff out. For the average person, I think they will think the 12 Pro cameras are very good and definitely a step above the 11 Pros, but I don't know if they will necessarily upgrade for that little jump. And if you're comparing it to the 12s, I would say there is a difference. So let's talk about a couple special features that are in this phone. First, we have the ceramic shield. Now, time will tell for this. I'm not gonna judge it based on people doing drop tests. I have a story, my brother dropped his phone and it seemed like the ceramic shield at the back of the phone caused an issue at the front of the phone. So the back was protected, but the front, there was a slight issue with the screen looking like it was slightly, and I mean really slightly popping out. But overall the phone is fine now. You can barely tell, especially once you put a screen protector on it. So with ceramic shield, time will tell. I guess the stories of the broken iPhones will start to appear over the next coming months. Another special feature is MagSafe. So I was quite excited about MagSafe, and I still am. However, with Apple's first generation support of MagSafe, there hasn't been anything really inspiring. We've seen the leather wallets, obviously the MagSafe charger, very overpriced. The wallet, very overpriced. But you know, that's a different issue. That's more about Apple than the actual MagSafe technology. I think in the future MagSafe will be a much stronger proposition with third parties joining in. Companies like Moment will make amazing camera accessories. You'll see things with driving mounts, and a lot of different things will come from MagSafe. So we're looking forward to that, but at the moment it's a bit light in terms of support. So we'll see how that goes. Let's talk about performance. Now, if you've seen my iPhone 12 review, some things might be sounding similar, and that's because the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro are similar. And where they're almost identical is in terms of performance. Even though the iPhone 12 only has 4 gigs of RAM versus the iPhone 12 Pro's 6 gigs of RAM, to be honest, day-to-day use, you don't really notice any difference. The speed of the phones are identical. People talk about background app refresh, but even with more gig, I've had some problems with that anyway. It seems random at times when it comes to things like that. So I wouldn't be locked into that conversation. I don't think you should choose this phone based on the RAM. Even Apple doesn't talk about the RAM. Both of the phones work very well, as smooth as you expect for iOS. Everything is smooth, no drops in frame rates, no hitches or glitches. So in this regard, very strong performance. And the last category we're going to look at is value. Is $999 good value for the iPhone 12 Pro? And the simple answer is no. Now why? The problem with the iPhone 12 Pro for me is when I look at the value of phones, most people look at the value in terms of what's out right now, which is fair and is valid. But if we consider that most people don't even upgrade every single year, I think you have to look at the market in general. So that includes the iPhone 11 Pro lineup, and even to some extent what happened with the 10 and the 10s. Less the 10, but more the 10s. And if you compare this phone with what you could get, you can get an iPhone 11 Pro Max, even new, for cheaper than this. Then you have to start thinking, is this really good value? And even when you compare it to its current lineup, compared to the 12, you start thinking, is this good value? The 12 has better battery life. The 12 has very similar cameras. The 12 has the same screen. You might prefer the design of the 12's phone in general. So for me, and then what you have to compare is the 12 Pro Max, which is only $100 more. Now, is that better value? Potentially, depending on what you want. Can you handle the bigger screen? Because to me, a bigger screen, bigger battery life, better sound is, for me, worth going up to the Pro Max model. There's also a potential of better camera, but early tests have suggested that maybe that might not be true. But for me, that is enough to go to the 12 Pro Max. And $999 is now in a bit of a weird space where you might as well just go for the 12, or go back one generation where the overall phone experience is basically the same, and in some cases better, because the 11 Pro Max has better battery life, 11 Pro has better battery life. So it's really, it's a tough one, and I think it's a tough one for the 12 Pro. I don't think it's really that tough for the consumer. I think you should either buy the 12, or if you want to go all the way, just buy the Pro Max. Now here's the question: is this worth the upgrade? If you have any of the 11 Pros, I'm just gonna say you should probably skip this. Now, if you really like the design of the new phone and you just like having the new stuff, then you know, it doesn't even matter. You will buy it anyway, eventually. But if this is something that you're going back and forth with, I would say skip it. You're not really missing out on much at all. If you're happy with the cameras that the 11 Pros were taking, this isn't going to change your life. But there's actually things that are worse this year in terms of battery life is worse. So the 11 Pro has a better battery life than the 12 Pro. The 11 Pro Max has a better battery life than the 12 Pro Max. Now, if you're deciding between the 12 Pro and the 12 wins hands down for me. Same screen, better battery life, an excellent camera, and I don't think the extra price of the 12 Pro is justified. If you're thinking that you need a 12 with 128 gigs, then you might consider that I might as well get the 12 Pro. But even in that case, you might just think, no, I'll save the money and I'll just get the 12 with 128 gigs. You know, if you have better battery life, if you don't need that extra lens, you might think, hey, it's all good. Now, in terms of whether you should go with the 12 Pro Max and just go all the way and just, you know, really just go all the way with it, that just depends on you. Can you handle the big phone? I think if you can handle the big phone and you like the big phone, then go for the 12 Pro Max, because it has the better battery life and it's a noticeable difference this year. To be fair, it was a noticeable difference last year, but even more so this year, since the battery lives have gone down by about 15% on the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max. So you don't want to lose out in terms of battery life. That's my 12 Pro review. If there's anything you guys want to know about the 12 Pro, just let me know in the comment section below. The 12 Pro Max is coming, I'll make a review on that as well. The 12 Mini is coming, I'll make a review on that as well. Like I always say, I'm a small channel, so if you have any questions, I answer all questions down below. The journey to 1,000 subs continues. If you want to join the journey, subscribe now and don't forget to hit the like button. And if you found this helpful, I will catch you in the next one.